The year was 3124, and humanity's once glorious interstellar empire was crumbling. For centuries, humans had reached for the stars, colonizing distant planets and building a vast network of trade routes. But now, Earth, the heart of their civilization, was under siege. A coalition of alien species known as the Dominion Alliance had united against them, accusing humanity of stealing resources and claiming territory that wasn't theirs to take. The skies above Earth were dark with tension. Thousands of Dominion warships loomed near Jupiter, their sleek metallic hulls glinting in the sunlight like predators circling prey. Humanity's last hope was gone. Its fleet scattered or destroyed after years of relentless battles across the galaxy. All that remained were hastily assembled defense systems orbiting Earth and a desperate population praying for salvation. On board one of the orbital stations, Commander Jarek Hale stared at the screens showing the enemy fleet. His hands clenched into fists as he watched the numbers grow larger by the minute. "They're not even hiding," he muttered bitterly. "It's like they're mocking us." Jarek wasn't wrong. The Dominion wanted everyone on Earth to see their overwhelming power. They had sent broadcasts across all frequencies, demanding unconditional surrender. Their message was clear: resist and face annihilation. Yet no response came from Earth. Silence stretched like an endless void between the two sides. Then, without warning, something happened. A single ship emerged from hyperspace, a shimmering ripple of energy dissolving into the blackness of space. It was small compared to the massive alien armada, battered and scarred from countless skirmishes. Its name painted on the side in faded letters read Solstice. Confusion rippled through the Dominion fleet. What kind of strategy was this? Why would humanity send just one ship when the entire world was at stake? Inside Solstice, Captain Ilara Voss stood tall despite the chaos around her. Her sharp green eyes scanned the monitors displaying the monstrous fleet outside. She exhaled slowly, steadying herself before addressing her crew. "Listen up," she said firmly, her voice cutting through the hum of the ship's systems. "We're outnumbered, outgunned, and completely alone. But we're also alive, and we're still fighting. That makes us dangerous." Her words sparked determination among the crew. Each member knew the odds were impossible. Still, they trusted Ilara. She had led them through worse situations before, always finding a way to survive. Ilara turned to her communications officer, Lieutenant Maracade. "Patch me through," she ordered. When the channel opened, her voice rang out strong and steady. "This is Captain Ilara Voss of the human starship Solstice. We are here to negotiate peace, not surrender." The transmission echoed across the Dominion fleet, leaving stunned silence in its wake. Some laughed it off as a pathetic bluff. Others felt unease creeping into their minds. Who was this woman who dared stand alone against such overwhelming force? General Varnock, the ruthless leader of the Dominion forces, sneered at the screen showing Solstice. "One ship," he scoffed. "This must be some trick." But deep down, doubt gnawed at him. Why would anyone risk everything for such a futile gesture? Back on Earth, billions held their breath, watching the lone ship defy the impossible. Hope flickered faintly in their hearts. Maybe, just maybe, this single act of defiance could change everything. And so, the stage was set. One ship versus an entire armada. Humanity's fate rested on the shoulders of Captain Ilara Voss and her crew. Whatever happened next, history would remember this moment forever. The arrival of Solstice sent shockwaves through the Dominion fleet. Thousands of alien warships hung motionless in space, their weapons locked onto the battered human vessel. It was hard to believe that this single ship represented humanity's last stand. Yet there it floated, defiant and unyielding, like a lone wolf staring down a pack of predators. Captain Ilara Voss stood on the bridge of Solstice, her gaze fixed on the massive armada outside. Her heart raced, but she kept her expression calm. She knew appearances mattered now more than ever. If the Dominion saw fear or hesitation, they would pounce without mercy. "Mara," She said quietly to her communications officer, "Send another message. Let them know we're not here for bloodshed. We're here for peace." Lieutenant Mara Cade nodded nervously, her fingers flying over the console. Within seconds, the transmission went live again. "This is Captain Ilara Voss of Solstice. We seek dialogue, not destruction. Humanity does not want war, but we will defend ourselves if forced." The response came quickly. A deep, gravelly voice filled the speakers, dripping with disdain. "You dare insult us with one ship," it growled. "Your people have taken what is ours for centuries. Now you beg for mercy. Surrender or face annihilation." Ilara clenched her jaw, but didn't rise to the bait. Instead, she replied evenly, "We've done nothing but fight to survive in a galaxy that never welcomed us. If you're willing to listen, I'll prove it." Her words sparked heated debate among the Dominion commanders. Some dismissed her as desperate, while others wondered why she seemed so confident despite being vastly outnumbered. General Varnock, however, wasn't interested in talk. He barked orders to his subordinates, demanding they prepare for an assault. "This must be some trick," he snarled. "One ship cannot change anything." But not everyone agreed. Ambassador Syra, a tall, elegant alien with shimmering blue skin, stepped forward. As a member of the Dominion Council, she had long opposed the war. "Perhaps we should hear her out," Syra suggested cautiously. "If she truly wishes to negotiate, destroying her ship now could cost us valuable information." Varnock glared at her. "Information? This is a distraction. They're stalling while reinforcements arrive." Syra held her ground. "And if they aren't? Are you so eager to spill more blood when diplomacy might save lives?" After a tense silence, the Council reluctantly decided to grant Ilara an audience aboard the Ecliptica, the flagship of the Dominion fleet. Ilara accepted the invitation immediately, knowing it was her best chance to buy time, and perhaps even turn the tide. As preparations began, Ilara gathered her crew for a briefing. "This isn't just about talking," she told them. "Every second we delay gives Earth a fighting chance. But don't mistake this for safety. They'll be watching our every move, looking for weaknesses." Dr. Cal Nix, the ship's physicist, frowned. "What if they discover the quantum resonator? That thing's our only real advantage." "Then we make sure they don't," Ilara said firmly. "Cal, keep working on stabilizing the system. Mara, monitor all communications. And Rin." She turned to her pilot, a wiry man with sharp instincts. "Stay ready to get us out of there at a moment's notice." When the time came, Ilara stepped onto the boarding shuttle flanked by two loyal officers, Commander Jarek Hale and Lieutenant Tara Quinn. Both were armed lightly, carrying only sidearms, a gesture meant to show goodwill. Still, Ilara felt the weight of uncertainty pressing down on her. Would the Dominion honor their promise of safe passage, or was this a trap? Inside the Ecliptica, the atmosphere was tense. Alien soldiers lined the corridors, their weapons trained on the humans. General Varnock watched from the shadows, his eyes narrowing as Ilara walked past. She ignored him, focusing instead on maintaining her composure. Finally, they'd reached the council chamber. Dozens of alien leaders sat around a circular table, their expressions ranging from curiosity to hostility. Ilara took a deep breath. This was it, the moment where humanity's fate would either shift toward peace or plunge deeper into chaos. "Let's begin," she said, meeting their gazes head-on. For now, the battle hung in the balance. One woman, one ship, and one fragile hope stood between survival and extinction. Back aboard Solstice, the crew worked tirelessly to prepare for the worst. While Captain Ilara Voss negotiated with the Dominion Council, those left behind knew their role was just as critical. Every second counted, and every decision could mean life or death, not just for them, but for all of humanity. Dr. Cal Nix sat hunched over his workstation in the ship's engineering bay. The faint hum of machinery filled the air as he pored over schematics of the quantum resonator. It was a marvel of human ingenuity, a device capable of destabilizing matter at a molecular level. In theory, it could obliterate entire fleets or planets with a single pulse. But using it came with risks. If misfired, the resonator could tear apart nearby celestial bodies, including Earth itself. Cale rubbed his temples. Exhaustion etched into his face. He had spent years perfecting the technology, yet he still doubted its reliability under extreme conditions. "This thing's more volatile than I thought," he muttered to himself. "One wrong move, and we're all toast." His assistant, Ensign Tessa Rook, glanced up from her console. "Do you think they'll let us use it?" she asked nervously. "I mean, if negotiations fail." "They won't have a choice," Cale replied grimly. "We're outgunned, outnumbered, and running out of time. If push comes to shove, this might be our only shot." Meanwhile, Lieutenant Mara Cade monitored incoming transmissions from the Ecliptica. So far, nothing unusual had surfaced, but that didn't ease her unease. Something about the Dominion's behavior felt off. They were too quiet, almost calculating. She flagged several encrypted signals bouncing between the alien ships, suspecting they might be planning something behind closed doors. "Rin," she called out to the pilot stationed nearby. "Can you run a scan on those signals? Maybe decrypt them." Rin Cole, the ship's cocky yet skilled pilot, leaned back in his chair with a smirk. "You really think I can crack alien codes in 5 minutes?" "I don't care how long it takes," Mara snapped. "Just do it." As Rain got to work, Commander Jarek Hale joined Mara on the bridge. His broad frame cast a shadow over her console as he peered at the data. "Anything suspicious?" "Not yet," Mara admitted. "But my gut says they're up to something. Either they're debating whether to trust Ilara or plotting to take us down while she's distracted." Jarek nodded grimly. "Either way, we need to stay sharp. If things go south, we're the last line of defense." Elsewhere in the ship, the rest of the crew carried out routine checks, ensuring every system was operational. For many, it was a way to keep fear at bay. The silence outside was deafening, broken only by the occasional beep of instruments or the low murmur of voices. Everyone knew what was at stake. One mistake, one oversight, and billions of lives would end. In the medical bay, Dr. Lyra Chen tended to minor injuries sustained during earlier skirmishes. Though mostly empty now, the room buzzed with tension. She paused mid-task, staring at her reflection in a shiny metal surface. "What are we doing here?" she whispered to herself. "How did it come to this?" Her question lingered unanswered, echoing through the corridors of Solstice. Despite their differences, each member of the crew shared the same unspoken truth. They were fighting not just for survival, but for hope. Hope that humanity could rise above its mistakes, find common ground with its enemies, and forge a better future. Hours passed, and updates trickled in from the Ecliptica. Ilara's negotiations appeared tense but stable. For now. Still, no one relaxed. Back on Earth, billions watched the lone ship holding the line, unaware of the secrets hidden within its battered hull. The quantum resonator remained silent, waiting for the moment when it might decide the fate of two civilizations. Until then, the crew of Solstice held their breath, ready to act at a moment's notice. Whatever happened next, they'd vowed to stand together, to protect their home, even if it meant sacrificing everything. The council chamber aboard the Ecliptica was a place of stark contrasts. Alien leaders from dozens of species sat around a circular table, their forms ranging from towering insectoids to sleek amphibians bathed in bioluminescent hues. Captain Ilara Voss stood at the center, her presence small but commanding. Behind her loomed General Varnuk, his massive armored frame radiating hostility. His eyes burned with barely contained fury, as if daring her to say the wrong thing. Ilara took a deep breath, steadying herself. She had rehearsed this moment countless times in her mind, but nothing could fully prepare her for the weight of it. "Thank you for granting me this audience," she began, her voice calm and measured. I'm here because humanity believes there's still a chance for peace. Her words sparked an immediate reaction. Some council members leaned forward, intrigued by her boldness. Others exchanged skeptical glances, whispering among themselves. General Varnock, however, scoffed loudly. Peace. After everything your kind has done. You expect us to believe that? Ilara didn't flinch. Instead, she turned to face him directly, her green eyes locking onto his. Yes, I do. Because survival isn't a crime. Humanity never sought conquest. We fought to live. We came to this galaxy as refugees, searching for a new home after ours was nearly destroyed. Tell me, General, wouldn't you have done the same? Her question silenced the room. For a moment, even Varnock seemed taken aback. Ambassador Sudra seized the opportunity, stepping forward to address the council. Captain Voss raises a valid point, she said diplomatically. History shows that both sides have made mistakes. Perhaps now is the time to focus on solutions rather than blame. But not everyone agreed. A reptilian counselor named Zixer hissed angrily, slamming a clawed hand on the table. Your people stole resources from our planets, disrupted ecosystems, and displaced native populations. How can we forgive such crimes? Ilara nodded solemnly. You're right. We've caused harm, and for that, I offer my deepest apologies. But war won't undo the past. It will only create more suffering. Let me prove that humanity is willing to change. She gestured to Commander Jarek Hale, who stepped forward holding a data tablet. We're prepared to share advanced medical technology developed by humans. It could save millions of lives across your territories. The offer created a stir. Several council members leaned closer, curiosity overcoming their skepticism. Even Varnock hesitated, though his expression remained hard. And what do you want in return? He demanded. Coexistence, Ilara replied simply. A ceasefire, trade agreements, mutual respect. That's all we ask. Before anyone could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. The lights flickered briefly, and the hum of engines grew louder. Everyone froze, unsure of what was happening. Moments later, a Dominion officer burst into the chamber, panic evident in his voice. General, unauthorized ships are approaching Solstice. Ilara's heart sank. Her worst fear had come true. The Dominion wasn't negotiating in good faith. Someone had launched an attack while she was distracted. Without hesitation, she activated her communicator. Mara, report. Static crackled before Mara's urgent voice came through. Captain, stealth fighters just ambushed us. They're trying to disable the ship. Pandemonium erupted in the council chamber. Accusations flew as council members argued about who authorized the strike. General Varnock barked orders into his own comms device, demanding answers. Amid the chaos, Ilara locked eyes with Ambassador Syra, who gave her a subtle nod of reassurance. Ilara addressed the council one last time, her tone sharp with resolve. If you destroy Solstice, you destroy any chance of peace. Is that truly what you want? Her question hung heavy in the air as the council debated furiously. Outside, the battle raged on, each second bringing humanity closer to annihilation. For now, diplomacy teetered on the edge of collapse, but hope hadn't yet been extinguished. Ilara clenched her fists, silently praying that her crew could hold out long enough for reason to prevail. Back aboard Solstice, chaos erupted as stealth fighters from the Dominion fleet swarmed around the ship. The enemy vessels were small, fast, and nearly invisible to standard sensors, making them a deadly threat. Lieutenant Mara Cade's voice crackled over the intercom, sharp with urgency. Captain, they're targeting our engines and weapons systems. If they disable us, we're done for. Commander Jarek Hale barked orders from the bridge, his deep voice cutting through the tension. Rin, get us moving. Zigzag pattern. Don't let them box us in. Pilot Rin Cole didn't need to be told twice. His hands danced across the controls, pushing Solstice into evasive maneuvers that sent the battered ship spinning unpredictably through space. The crew braced themselves as artificial gravity fluctuated wildly, but no one complained. Survival was all that mattered now. Dr. Cale Nix scrambled to secure the quantum resonator in the engineering bay. If the Dominion fighters managed to breach the hull, the experimental weapon could become unstable, and everyone on board knew what that meant. "Tessa, reroute power to shields," he shouted above the din of alarms. "We can't afford to lose containment." Ensign Tessa Rook nodded furiously, her fingers flying over the console. "Shields at 60% and holding. For now." Meanwhile, Lieutenant Murrah monitored the incoming fighters, trying to anticipate their next move. "They're spreading out," she reported grimly. "Looks like they're preparing another wave." Jarek clenched his jaw. "We don't have enough firepower to take them all down. We'll have to improvise." And improvise they did. Using scraps of old tech salvaged from previous battles, the crew devised makeshift countermeasures. Rin released decoy drones rigged with EMP charges, creating bursts of electromagnetic interference that temporarily disabled several fighters. At the same time, Mara hacked into the enemy comms network, feeding false coordinates to confuse their targeting systems. "Nice work, Mara," Jarek said, watching as two Dominion ships collided mid-flight due to the faulty data. "Keep it up." But the fight wasn't over yet. One particularly aggressive fighter broke through their defenses, firing a volley of missiles straight at Solstice. The impact rocked the ship violently, sending sparks flying across the bridge. Smoke filled the air as consoles exploded, forcing the crew to abandon their stations. "We've lost primary thrusters," Rin yelled, struggling to maintain control. "Auxiliary systems are barely keeping us steady." In the medical bay, Dr. Lyra Chin treated injured crew members while shielding herself from falling debris. Her hands trembled as she applied bandages, but her voice remained calm. "Stay focused, people. We've been through worse." Despite the mounting damage, morale stayed surprisingly high. Each member of the crew fought not just for themselves, but for humanity's last hope. They refused to give up, not when so much depended on them. As the battle raged on, word of the ambush reached the Dominion Council aboard the Ecliptica. Ambassador Syra stood up abruptly, her glowing blue skin shimmering with anger. "This is unacceptable," she exclaimed. "Who authorized this attack? We agreed to negotiate, not escalate hostilities." General Varnock shifted uncomfortably, avoiding her gaze. The rogue faction responsible for the strike had acted without official approval, but he hadn't stopped them either. Now, cracks began to form within the council as accusations flew back and forth. Ilara listened intently via her communicator. Knowing this internal conflict could work in humanity's favor, she turned to Commander Jarek and Lieutenant Tara Quinn, who had accompanied her to the meeting. "If they're divided, we might have a chance," she said quietly. "Let's make sure they know exactly who started this." Back aboard Solstice, the crew finally gained the upper hand. With a combination of clever tactics and sheer determination, they managed to repel the remaining fighters. By the time the dust settled, the once mighty Dominion ambush force lay in ruins. Though battered and bruised, Solstice still floated defiantly among the stars. Its crew cheered weakly, exhausted but alive. For now, they had survived. But the war was far from over. As reports of the failed attack spread, whispers of doubt rippled through the Dominion ranks. Some wondered if humanity truly deserved destruction, or if peace might be worth pursuing after all. The failed ambush against Solstice sent shockwaves through the Dominion fleet. While the rogue faction had acted without official approval, the damage was done. News of the attack spread quickly, igniting outrage among some members of the Dominion Council and fueling doubts about humanity's supposed aggression. For Ambassador Syra, it was the proof she needed to push harder for peace. Back aboard Ecliptica, tensions within the council chamber reached a boiling point. General Varnock stood defiantly, refusing to admit fault for the rogue faction's actions. It was a necessary precaution. He growled, slamming his fist on the table. That ship could have been hiding weapons or planning an ambush. Syra stepped forward, her voice calm but firm. And instead of proving our strength, you've proven your fear. Humanity offered us diplomacy, yet we responded with violence. How can we claim moral superiority when we act no better than they allegedly did? Her words struck a nerve. Several council members exchanged uneasy glances, clearly conflicted. Even Zixar, the reptilian counselor who had earlier condemned humanity, seemed hesitant now. Perhaps there is merit in Syra's argument, he admitted reluctantly. If this war continues, more lives will be lost, not just human, but ours as well. Ilara listened intently, seizing the moment to drive home her point. This isn't about winning or losing anymore, she said, addressing the council directly. It's about survival, for all of us. If we keep fighting, none of us will see tomorrow. But if we work together, we can build something greater than conquest or revenge. Her sincerity resonated with some, but others remained unconvinced. To sway them further, Ilara made a bold proposal. We're willing to share classified information, proof that this war wasn't inevitable. Let me broadcast documents showing how certain factions manipulated events to provoke conflict. If your people see the truth, maybe they'll demand peace instead of bloodshed. The room fell silent. Such a move carried enormous risks. Exposing corruption within the Dominion could destabilize their entire alliance. Yet it also held the potential to unite both sides under a shared cause. After a long pause, Syra nodded slowly. Do it, she whispered to Ilara. But tread carefully. With time running out, Ilara contacted Lieutenant Mara Cade back aboard Solstice. Mara, I need you to hack into the Dominion comms network again. But this time, send everything we have on the war's origins. Broadcast it across every frequency. Mara hesitated. Captain, are you sure? This could start a civil war among the Dominion. It might. Ilara replied grimly. But if we don't take the risk, humanity has no future anyway. Do it. As Mara worked, encrypted files began flooding Dominion communication channels. The transmissions revealed damning evidence. Secret meetings between corporate interests and military leaders, falsified reports blaming humanity for resource shortages, and even covert operations designed to escalate tensions. Within hours, the truth reached Dominion homeworlds, sparking protests and uprisings. On board Solstice, the crew monitored news feeds from across the galaxy. Images of alien crowds chanting for peace filled their screens. Dr. Lyra Chen watched in awe. They're actually listening, she murmured. People are waking up. Even General Varnock couldn't ignore the growing unrest. His soldiers reported mutinies breaking out among lower ranks, while high-ranking officers faced pressure to reconsider their stance. For the first time, cracks appeared in the once-united Dominion front. Ambassador Sylara approached Ilara privately later that day. You've given my people something powerful, a reason to hope, she said softly. But the fight isn't over yet. There are still those who would rather destroy than negotiate. I know, Ilara replied, her expression resolute. But hope is contagious. Once it takes root, it's hard to kill. As dawn broke over Earth, billions looked skyward, praying for salvation. Above them, Solstice floated like a beacon of defiance and possibility. Though battered and scarred, it symbolized humanity's refusal to give up. And somewhere among the stars, whispers of a brighter future began to spread. Time was running out. Despite the growing unrest within the Dominion ranks, factions loyal to General Varnock refused to back down. They viewed humanity's revelations as a desperate ploy and were determined to crush Solstice once and for all. Meanwhile, aboard the battered human ship, Captain Ilara Voss faced a grim reality. Diplomacy alone wouldn't save them now. They needed something more. Dr. Kel Nick stood in the engineering bay, staring at the quantum resonator with a mixture of awe and dread. It was their ace in the hole, but using it came with unimaginable risks. Captain, he said hesitantly as Ilara joined him, if we activate this thing, even a controlled pulse could destabilize nearby moons, or worse, Earth itself. Ilara nodded, her jaw tight. I know the stakes, Kale. But if we don't show them what we're capable of, they'll keep coming. We need to make them understand that attacking us isn't worth the cost. Kale swallowed hard. Then let me recalibrate the system one last time. I'll adjust the frequency so it targets only non-organic materials, ships, weapons, structures. That way, we minimize collateral damage. Do it, Ilara ordered. But hurry. We don't have much time. As Kel worked feverishly, Lieutenant Mara Cade intercepted new intel from the Dominion fleet. A massive strike force was assembling near Jupiter, preparing for an all-out assault on Solstice. This wasn't just another ambush, it was meant to obliterate them completely. We can't hold off an entire fleet, Mara warned, her voice trembling. Not without help. Ilara's eyes narrowed. Then we won't fight conventionally. Mara, send a message to the Dominion Council. Tell them we're about to demonstrate why humanity is still a force to be reckoned with, and patch me through to their comms network. Moments later, Ilara's voice echoed across every Dominion ship. Attention, Dominion forces. You've underestimated us long enough. If you continue your attack, you will face consequences beyond anything you can imagine. Consider this your final warning. Her words sent shockwaves through the enemy ranks. Some dismissed her threat as bluffing. Others grew uneasy, recalling rumors of humanity's advanced technology. Then, without further explanation, Solstice fired the quantum resonator. A brilliant flash of energy erupted from the ship, rippling outward like a wave. Within seconds, a barren moon orbiting Jupiter disintegrated into dust, reduced to nothingness by the weapon's immense power. Silence followed as both sides stared in stunned disbelief. Even General Varnock, watching from his flagship, couldn't hide his shock. This changes everything, Ambassador Sadara whispered to herself, her glowing blue skin dimming slightly as she processed the implications. Humanity wasn't bluffing. They had the means to end the war decisively, regardless of the cost. Back aboard Solstice, the crew exhaled collectively, though relief was short-lived. The demonstration had bought them time, but divisions deepened within the Dominion. While some leaders argued for immediate negotiations, others, like Vornek's faction, became more resolute. They'd shown their hand. Vornek snarled during an emergency council meeting. Now they think they can intimidate us. We must destroy them before they grow stronger. Syra countered fiercely. And how many lives will you sacrifice chasing that goal? Their weapon proves they're willing to fight, but also that they sought peace first. Are you so blind to honor that you'd ignore reason? The debate raged on, fracturing the Dominion's unity. Meanwhile, aboard Solstice, exhaustion weighed heavily on the crew. Dr. Lyra Chen treated minor injuries sustained during repairs while offering quiet encouragement. You've done the impossible, she told Ensign Tessa Rook, who slumped against a wall. Don't lose faith now. Ilara gathered her team for a final briefing. We've shown them our strength, she said firmly. Now we wait. Either they'll come to the table, or they'll try to destroy us anyway. Either way, we stand ready. Above Earth, the lone ship floated defiantly among the stars, its battered hull a testament to resilience. For now, humanity had proven it could not be underestimated. But the battle for survival and peace was far from over. The aftermath of the quantum resonator's demonstration rippled through the Dominion fleet like a tidal wave. Some ships immediately began retreating, their crews unwilling to face such devastating power again. Others remained defiant, rallying around General Varnock as he prepared for one final assault on Solstice. The stage was set for a climactic battle, one that would decide not just the fate of humanity, but the future of two civilizations. Aboard Solstice, the atmosphere was tense yet resolute. Every member of the crew knew what was at stake. They had fought for days with little rest, pushed their ship beyond its limits, and risked everything to protect Earth. Now, they'd braced themselves for the ultimate test. Dr. Kel Nix stood in the engineering bay, his hands trembling as he adjusted the quantum resonator settings. After the moon's destruction, the weapon's core had destabilized slightly, making it even more volatile. "If we fire this thing again," he muttered to Ensign Tessa Rook, who worked alongside him, "it might be the last thing any of us do." Tessa glanced up, her face pale but determined. "Then let's make sure it counts." Cale nodded grimly. He turned back to his console, rerouting every spare ounce of energy to stabilize the system. Sweat dripped down his forehead as alarms blared softly in the background. "Just hold together a little longer," he whispered to himself. On the bridge, Captain Ilara Voss gripped the railing tightly as she watched the Dominion fleet reorganize for another attack. Their numbers were smaller now, but their resolve burned brighter than ever. "Mara," she said sharply, "status report." Lieutenant Mara Cade scanned her console, her voice steady despite the chaos. "They're forming a spearhead formation, targeting our engines and weapon systems. If they disable those, we're sitting ducks." Ilara clenched her jaw. "Rin, get us moving. Keep them guessing. Jarek, prepare countermeasures." Pilot Rin Cole responded instantly, weaving Solstice through space in erratic patterns designed to confuse the enemy. Commander Jarek Hale coordinated defensive maneuvers, deploying decoy drones and EMP bursts to disrupt incoming fire. Despite their efforts, the Dominion's relentless assault took its toll. Explosions rocked the ship as hull breaches forced crew members to seal off damaged sections. In the medical bay, Dr. Lyra Chen worked tirelessly to treat the wounded. Smoke filled the air, and sparks flew from shattered consoles, but she refused to falter. "Stay with me," she urged an injured engineer, applying pressure to a deep gash on his arm. Her calm demeanor steadied those around her, even as fear threatened to overwhelm them. As the battle raged on, sacrifices became inevitable. In the engineering bay, Cale realized the reactor core was overheating, and only someone inside could manually vent the excess energy. Without hesitation, he grabbed a protective suit and stepped toward the door. "Tessa, keep monitoring the resonator. I'll handle this." "Cale, no," Tessa protested, tears streaming down her face. "You can't go in there." "It's the only way," he replied softly. "Tell Ilara. Tell her I did my part." Before Tessa could argue further, Cale sealed himself inside the reactor chamber. Moments later, the core stabilized, but at a terrible cost. When the door reopened, Cale was gone, his sacrifice ensuring the ship remained operational. News of his death spread quickly, casting a somber shadow over the crew. Yet it also ignited a renewed sense of purpose. Each person aboard Solstice vowed to honor Cale's memory by fighting harder, pushing farther, and refusing to yield. General Varnock, watching from afar, couldn't comprehend their resilience. "Why do they keep resisting?" he growled. "One ship shouldn't be able to stand against an entire fleet." But beneath his anger lay doubt, a flicker of uncertainty about whether this war was truly worth the cost. Even among his own soldiers, whispers of dissent began to spread. Finally, after hours of relentless combat, the tide began to turn. Using clever tactics and sheer determination, Solstice managed to disable several key Dominion vessels, forcing the remaining ships to retreat. Exhausted but victorious, the crew gathered on the bridge, their faces etched with both pride and sorrow. Ilara addressed them quietly. "We've shown them what humanity is made of. But remember, we didn't win alone. Heroes like Cale gave everything so we could live. Let's make sure their sacrifice wasn't in vain." Above Earth, the battered ship floated silently, a symbol of courage and defiance. Though scared and weary, Solstice still stood, a beacon of hope in a fractured galaxy. And somewhere, amid the chaos, peace seemed closer than ever before. The Dominion fleet's retreat left an eerie silence in space, broken only by the faint hum of Solstice's damaged systems. For the first time in days, the crew allowed themselves a moment to breathe. But Captain Ilara Voss knew better than to celebrate prematurely. The war wasn't over yet, not while General Varnock still commanded loyal factions unwilling to surrender. Aboard the Ecliptica, the Dominion Council convened for an emergency session. Tensions ran high as leaders debated their next move. Ambassador Cyrus stood at the forefront, her voice firm but compassionate. "We've seen what humanity is capable of," she said, addressing the council. "Their weapon could have destroyed us all, but they chose restraint. They sought peace even when provoked. Isn't it time we did the same?" General Varnock slammed his fist on the table, his fury barely contained. "You think this is about honor or morality? This is survival. If we stop now, we lose everything. And if we continue, we lose far more," countered Zixar, the reptilian counselor who had once been among humanity's harshest critics. "Our people are tired of war. The protests back home grow louder every day. Are you willing to sacrifice billions just to save your pride?" The argument raged on, dividing the council further. Some sided with Varnock, clinging to the belief that victory was still possible. Others, swayed by Cyrus' words and the undeniable evidence broadcasted earlier, pushed for immediate negotiations. It became clear that the Dominion itself was fracturing under the weight of its own ambitions. Back aboard Solstice, Ilara prepared for one final confrontation. Intelligence reports indicated that Varnock planned to rally his remaining forces for a last-ditch assault, this time targeting Earth directly. Knowing she couldn't let that happen, Ilara devised a bold plan. She would confront Varnock personally aboard his flagship, hoping to appeal to whatever shred of reason he might still possess. "Are you sure about this?" Commander Jarek Hale asked, concern etched into his face. "He's not exactly known for listening." "I don't have a choice," Ilara replied. Her tone was calm but resolute. "If I can make him see sense, even for a moment, it might be enough to end this." Accompanied by Lieutenant Tara Quinn, Ilara boarded a shuttle and headed toward Varnock's flagship. As they docked, armed guards escorted them to the general's command center. Varnock loomed over them, his massive frame radiating menace. "What do you want now, human?" he growled. "Come to beg for mercy?" "No," Ilara answered steadily, meeting his gaze without flinching. "I came to remind you of something. War doesn't make anyone stronger. It only leaves scars. Look at your own people. They're tired, divided, losing faith in you. Is that really the legacy you want?" For a moment, doubt flickered across Varnock's face. Behind him, several officers exchanged uneasy glances, clearly conflicted. Sensing weakness, Ilara pressed on. "You can keep fighting, General, but where does it end? More death, more destruction. Or you can choose to break the cycle, to give your people a chance to heal." Varnock hesitated, torn between rage and reason. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, he turned to his officers. "Stand down," he ordered gruffly. "But this isn't over." Though reluctant, his subordinates obeyed, signaling the remaining ships to withdraw. Word of the ceasefire spread quickly, bringing relief to both sides. Back aboard Solstice, the crew erupted into cheers, tears streaming down their faces as they realized the nightmare was finally ending. Ilara returned to her ship, exhausted but triumphant. "We did it," she told her crew softly. "Not because we were stronger, but because we refused to give up hope." Above Earth, the battered hull of Solstice floated proudly against the stars, a testament to resilience, courage, and the power of unity. And though the galaxy remained scarred by centuries of conflict, a fragile peace began to take root. Somewhere, amid the rubble of war, a new dawn emerged. Months passed after the ceasefire, and the galaxy slowly began to heal. The Treaty of Ecliptica, signed aboard the Dominion flagship, marked a historic turning point. Humanity retained its independence, but agreed to share resources, technology, and knowledge with the Dominion. In return, the Dominion pledged to end hostilities and work toward mutual cooperation. It wasn't perfect. Neither side fully trusted the other, but it was a start. Captain Ilara Voss became a symbol of resilience and hope. Her name echoed across Earth and beyond, celebrated not just for her bravery, but for her unwavering belief in diplomacy over destruction. Yet Ilara herself shied away from the spotlight. "I didn't do this alone," she often said during interviews. "Every member of Solstice played their part. And Kale, we wouldn't be here without him." Dr. Kale Nix's sacrifice became legend. His final act of heroism saved not only the ship but also humanity itself. In his honor, Earth built a monument near the ruins of the old spaceport where Solstice had first launched. Engraved on its surface were the words, "Courage is measured not by how we live, but by what we're willing to give." The battered ship itself was retired from service, preserved as a museum piece orbiting Earth. Visitors from all corners of the galaxy came to see it, marveling at the scars that told stories of survival and defiance. Inside, holographic displays recounted the crew's journey, from their desperate stand against overwhelming odds to the fragile peace they helped forge. For many, Solstice stood as a reminder that even in the darkest moments, hope could prevail. Back home, Earth began to rebuild. Colonies once abandoned during the war reopened, thriving under renewed trade agreements with the Dominion. Medical advancements shared by humanity saved countless lives across alien worlds, fostering goodwill and trust. Slowly, barriers between species began to crumble. Children grew up learning about cooperation rather than conquest, dreaming of exploring the stars together instead of fighting over them. Ambassador Sadara played a pivotal role in bridging the gap between humanity and the Dominion. She traveled frequently between worlds, advocating for unity and understanding. At one gathering, she addressed a crowd of humans and aliens alike. "This treaty isn't just paper, it's a promise that we can rise above hatred and fear. Let us build something greater than ourselves." Even General Varnock, though disgraced, found redemption in unexpected ways. Stripped of his command, he retreated to his homeworld, where he spent years reflecting on his actions. Eventually, he emerged as an advocate for disarmament, urging others to learn from his mistakes. Though some dismissed him as a traitor, others saw his transformation as proof that change was possible, even for those who had caused the most harm. As the galaxy moved forward, whispers of a brighter future spread like wildfire. Scientists collaborated on projects once deemed impossible, artists exchanged ideas across cultures, and explorers ventured into uncharted regions of space, driven by curiosity rather than greed. Humanity, once feared and vilified, earned respect as a partner rather than a rival. One evening, aboard a newly constructed observation station orbiting Earth, Ilara stood gazing at the stars. Beside her stood Jarek, Mara, Rin, and the rest of the Solstice crew. They had been through hell together, yet they remained close, a family forged in fire. "You think we'll ever see another war like that?" Mara asked quietly. Ilara shook her head. "Maybe. But if we do, I know we'll face it together. That's what makes us strong, not our weapons, but our ability to find light in the darkness." Above them, the night sky shimmered with infinite possibilities. Somewhere among the stars, a new generation dreamed of peace, exploration, and unity. And thanks to the courage of one ship and its crew, that dream felt closer than ever before. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy dared to hope.